Alrighty, I'm gonna try this again. So, here goes nothing, people. Hi. Uh, I'm a little bit frustrated at the moment. A little bit frustrated and a little bit excited at the same time. In my life currently, I don't know if I need to get into this. Maybe I do, because if you're watching this, chances are you're somebody who knows me personally. This isn't a. I'm not going to put this on YouTube. I'm going to put this on Facebook, I do believe, which means that if you're watching this, you know who I am. And so, I don't know. If I were putting this on YouTube as a tutorial or something like that, I think I would leave my personal life out of it. But I'm in a kind of transitional phase in my life, you might want to call it that. But it's the sort of thing where I have forces pulling me up and I have forces pulling me down. I'm using my hands to talk, but I have forces pulling me up and forces pulling me down. And I hate to say it, but it's my relationship with my family right now that's pulling me down. And the other things that I'm doing in my life, like the gender exploration and learning how to code currently, that are you know I feel like lifting me out of my hole. So if not for those, I think I'd be in deep shit. Probably not, because the gender exploration is partly what's causing the trouble with my family. So but I don't even want to call it trouble, because it's not like drama, but I'm probably not gonna. I probably don't have a family anymore. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that, but it is certainly affecting. Like, I've made this video several times, but I keep getting into these very I don't know what to call it, except the way I described it before, where I feel like I'm in this kind of like I'm going up and down at the same time, right? I'm in this kind of like. Is that a good description of how I feel? Do I need to tell you that? I don't know. That's kind of how I've been all day. It's been, or for the last week or so. Like, I'm working on this stuff today, and I got super excited. But that was like, if you break up my day, there's like an interval where I'm like super excited, and there's an interval where I'm like, oh my god, my life is in ruins. So, maybe it helps for me to put that out there before I get started. I don't know. I took a public speaking class at the Art Institute of Charlotte, which is where I learned HTML and CSS, not JavaScript, but HTML and CSS, which I'll talk about a little bit. But I also took a public speaking class, and they said in that if you're going to give a presentation, don't start off by saying, well, forgive me, folks, but I'm really tired because I was up all night on a flight to come over here and speak. Don't start off that way. So right now I'm thinking, is this really a good way to start off? I don't know. So far, I actually feel better having said that than I did in the previous attempts to make this video, where I felt like I just kept stumbling and just feeling like just kind of getting down on myself. Yeah. The relationship with my family right now is a very Did I express myself there? Did I articulate what I'm going through? I don't know. Does it have anything to do with the reason for me drinking beer right now? Possibly. Uh, Anyways, so this is one of the things that's currently exciting me. This is one of the things that I feel like I should have started doing this a long time ago. I feel like my life would be very different right now than it has been, and that's for one. I'm 46 years old. I've been working since I was 16 years old. So I've been working for 30 years, approximately, 30 years I've been working. And I've never had a job that I liked. I've never once had a job that gave me any kind of satisfaction or I felt excited about, or where it was like I woke up in the morning thinking, man, I can't wait to get to work. There are jobs that had aspects that I liked, you might say. Like I liked working at Starbucks, but it was because I got to meet people, I got to talk to people, that I liked working there. It wasn't the work itself that I liked. There are some jobs that, were more enjoyable than others, and some were somewhat satisfying. Like I liked cooking at IHOP. Things like that, but it was certainly never really gave me the sense of I'm doing what I was put here to do. I get that more from I'm keep going backwards. I get that more from this than from any other job that I've done. I get this from. Even more than like making posters and other sort of creative stuff. I get that from coding. There have been a few times. I shouldn't say a few times. There was one time in particular where I was coding something, and I just had this feeling of I'm doing what I was put here. I was put on this earth to do, and that might sound crazy to people, but I don't know. There have been times in my life when I thought or felt like my brain was made to solve problems, and I was thinking that because I had many problems in my life, and I was thinking that the only reason I had those problems was because my brain was made to solve problems, and when it can't find problems to solve, it creates problems for itself to solve. And anyways, when I get into this, that's when my brain is like, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't know how else to put it aside from that. It sounds strange to me to say that computer programming is my life's purpose. And I don't mean to say that, but that is about what it feels like when I feel the excitement about like what I did earlier and in the other previous things that I've worked on. That was kind of how I felt. I was like, oh shit, now I finally found at least work. Of all, like I said, like of all the jobs that I've done, at least I found something where it's like, I think this could be something where I wake up in the morning thinking, I can't wait to get to work on this project or this app or whatever. I had a dream last night that I was coming up with a program or an app to help me figure out if I was transgender or not, and which I knew would happen. Once I started working on this, I knew at some point I was going to start having dreams about writing computer programs, and So this is one of the things that's pulling me up at the moment. So what I'm working on today, the thing that I did today that excited me, is not that big of a deal. It's not as even some of the other projects that I've worked on. Like I did one where I had to take scores from a gymnastic event. This was a just a coding challenge, basically, not a real thing. But take scores from a gymnastic event. Write a computer program that would determine the winner of each event, determine the average score from each event, because there was more than one competitor per team. Each gymnastic team had three gymnasts, so I had to figure out the average score for each team, and then compare who won from each event. But there were 3 events, so then I had to figure out who won the whole tournament, or whatever you want to call it. But have the computer calculate all that, and once I got that to work, I felt like this is enjoyable. This is actually satisfying work, and that's not a huge surprise to me, because when I was younger, I actually liked doing algebra, trigonometry, calculus. Math and science were my subjects in school. I mean, when I say they were my subjects, I mean those were the classes where I excelled in those subjects without studying. I didn't have to study for those classes. Anyways, so today, I don't know what I've said so far, because I've already made this video like 4 times. So I don't know what I've said now and what I said in the previous videos. But what I was working on for my own personal project was to make a chat app. But because I haven't gotten so far that I can have an app that communicates with someone else's computer. I haven't gotten that far yet. I had to make a chat app where I talk to myself, and so for me this was somewhat, I guess, interesting, because if I were to go to, say, YouTube or something like that and look for a tutorial on how to make a chat app, it's only going to tell me how to make take input from one user, right? Because most chat apps, like if you're using a chat app, the input, this is called an input field here. The input that you're using is for one user, right? Like when I'm talking to my friend through text, I'm typing into the input field. That's just, I have my input field and he has his own separate input field. So you're not going to find a tutorial on YouTube on how to take one input field and get 2 different text outputs, if that makes sense. So I knew that when I started this, that this was something that I was going to have to figure out on my own. And so that in itself made it enjoyable. But what excited me today was not that. Or actually, that's related to that. So what you see here is the JavaScript that makes this work, right? So I have this is not all this is the HTML here for this page. The HTML, like I said, is the Lego part of the page. That basically puts these buttons here, this text here, is all here because of the HTML. The CSS is what styles it. This is where all the colors come from. And the background image, I have a background image here, which is a painting that someone else did. which is placed there by the CSS. And but the JavaScript is what makes the functionality of the website. So this is like, if this, like I said, if this is a car, if the website is a car, then the HTML and the CSS are the body of the car, but the JavaScript is the engine. It's what makes the thing go, right? But what I had when I made this in the first place, like I said, well, I don't think I explained it yet. So I have one input field, and the way I made it is, if I you can see I've already started the conversation with myself. So my last comment to myself was, "Don't get naked without me," and now I'm going to say back to myself, "Don't drink too much beer." Now if I hit Control Enter, it goes on the right side. And now I'm going to respond to myself. I just want to see you naked. And if I hit Enter, it goes on the left side. So Enter puts one on one side, and Control Enter puts one on the other side, basically. So I'm basically making a fake conversation with one input, right? So this is the code that does all that. And what I had done originally was I can take the button input when a key is hit on the keyboard. I can take that information and I can assign a function to it. But the function that I assign to it is one that I define, right? So what I did originally, this is the function currently that I just came up with. When I hit the enter key, this is the function that runs. It's called message. You see here I have message here. So when it says, this is basically saying if the enter key and the control key are pressed, then run that function. And after you've run that function, then make this input thing empty. Get rid of the text. Get rid of it. And if the enter key is pressed, which is what it says here. Sorry, I got it backwards. The first one was the enter key. The second one is the control and enter. But it also says then run the message function. So I have one function. When I hit the control key, the control and enter, or just the enter key, I have one function that gives me two different results. And that excites me because when I originally wrote this, I had two separate functions for each button push. So originally I had one function called apply, which goes with these buttons over here. I have an apply button and a reply button, and which apparently I had deleted from the JavaScript. I'm not sure why, but I don't remember. Either I deleted it or I never put it in the first place. I'm not sure, but so I have an apply and a reply function. And people, if you were just learning how to code, you might think, well, what's the problem with having two different functions? If you look at these functions, you might see why. So if you look at, like, say, the very bottom line of the reply function, you see when I highlight this, you see how other parts of the page are being highlighted also? That's because the code editor recognizes that this code exists elsewhere in the code. So this code right here at the bottom of this function is also right here at the bottom of this function. Let me you see that? So this code exists twice in both of the functions. This right here also exists twice in both functions. This exists twice in both functions. This exists twice. This exists twice. These are as parts of the text here. This also exists in both functions. So you can see that I have a lot of repeating code in each of these functions, but what makes them different is right here I have this variable. Actually, it's actually a constant, but they're still called variables because originally in JavaScript there was no such thing as constants. They were just variables, and then they created a new type of variable which they called constant. So here, like, this is a variable. This little quest is a variable. This is also a variable up here called quest list. Variables, the way they work is you say to JavaScript, I want you to make a variable, and then you name the variable yourself with an arbitrary word. I could call this pizza or Empire State Building or whatever I want to call it. The thing is I have to define it, right? And so what was I saying? I forgot what I was saying, but so yeah, so I have this here. I have this constant. It sounds contradictory to say a constant variable, but like I said, originally all there were variables, and then in the last version of JavaScript, which is the ES6, they added the constant and the let, which are basically the same thing as well, not the same thing as, but they are similar to variable. So they're still called people still call const a variable because it serves the same purpose as the variable. It's just meant to not change. So you have variables and functions, basically objects and things like that. But anyways, hopefully that made sense. But so I have these variables here. This constant variable. Every time I say that I feel funny, but that's just what it's called. Anyways, so I have this new apply constant, which goes with the apply function, right? But if you look at that new apply, you see that that is doing the same thing as the new reply. The thing with functions is if I define a variable in this function, I can't use that variable in this function. So that's why I had to create a new one with this function. What I didn't realize at the time is I could have created that variable outside of that function and then used that function in both of them. But that is also not what I want. So that new apply, but you see that applies, that's here, that shows up in 4 different places here, and then I have this apply here so I have this new apply where it says new apply class list add apply. That is where it's different in the code. So you see I have reply here, new reply, new reply, new reply, and reply there. And so what I wanted to figure out today was how to take the code that was identical and write it one time, but have all these instances where the code is different, have it change depending on the button that I pushed. So whether I hit the enter button or the control and enter button, I would be running the same code or the same function, which is what I accomplished today with the message. I created this new function called message, which is the same function that runs twice depending on which button I push. So what I had to do, this was the challenge for me. This is what excited me about this, was this challenge of how do I make this code, how do I make one function that gives me 2 different outputs depending on the button that I push. So first off, I realized that this new apply here, like I said, that this does the exact same thing as the new reply. So if I create one function, I can get rid of that. I can just have the new message. This is what I called it. I just called it. So I have the message function, and I have, instead of new reply or new apply, I just have new message, right? And it does everything up here. So now I've basically eradicated, what is that, like 80% of my problem. So the next problem here is the apply, this little thing right here, which you you might not have any idea what I'm pointing at really. But the apply and the reply, here in these instances that I'm pointing to at, this apply right here and this reply right here are actually pointing to the style sheet over here. So what I'm saying here with this line of code is I want you to, what this does basically is I'm telling the JavaScript to make a new little element right here, this little container. I want you to make a new one. The text that goes in it is coming from this input, which is what I'm telling it here. So I'm telling it this quest variable that I've defined is coming from the document input. So take that, put it here in this, sorry, I'm down here in this new message, and then add the class list, quest list X. This is where the magic for me happened, because this quest list X was the reply and the apply. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. So what is the X here? So this X here is this X here, right? So in the function message, I have an X argument, is what it's called. If you look at these, the reply, you see there is no argument in the function. And the apply also, it's also the same. You see the parentheses there are empty. The parentheses indicate that this is a function, but it allows for an argument or arguments, multiple arguments, to be put into the function. But I only need one variable to make this function work. I can call it whatever I want. I called it X just out of convention. So I'm telling JavaScript that I have this function message, which will be using a variable. This function will be different depending on the variable that I give you. Which down here you see that I have message 0 and message 1. So when I call the function here, x equals 0, and when I call the message here, x equals 1. All right, and now how that makes it work is that up here I have another variable called quest list, which I pointed out before. These brackets, these little yellow brackets on the sides, I did not mean to move that. These yellow brackets on the outside tell JavaScript that this is this is an array. That's what it's called. And so an array is basically just a list of items. If I want to make a collection of items, say like team scores or an inventory of car parts or something like that, I could put it into an array, and the advantage of that is that these are indexed. So the way that apply here is the very first item in the array, and it has the index of 0. And then reply here has the index of 1. So the index basically goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many items I have in the array. And so if I run this function message with x equals 0, where quest list at index x, if the index of x is 0, that means that apply here is going into this new message class list add, where it says quest list x, that's being substituted with apply. And if x equals 1, then it is getting the reply. And so that is how I was able to take two functions and put them into one and get the exact same result. These actually were worse off than I showed them to you, because I also had these two pieces of code in each one of these functions also. So that was I wouldn't call it a mess. I wouldn't say my code was a mess. I would call that a beginner's mistake. I don't know. I'm not sure. Because I am a beginner, I can't really say what is a beginner's mistake and what isn't. But So I'm going to count this as my final attempt at making this video, which means I can finally delete this code. If I have to make this video again, I can just undelete it, right? And you see that this is my code here. This is all my code, and this is accomplishing all of this, you know, and in with the HTML and CSS. Thank you. If you made it this far, I appreciate your attention. I appreciate your love and your whatever you want to call it. So let me, while you're here, let me show you what I'm working on. So this is my own personal dashboard. What I'm considering, instead of making websites for people, like for businesses and things like that, is making custom dashboards for people that run in a web browser. So this is what I'm making for myself currently. I'm making my own personal dashboard, whatever you want to call it. Just for like projects that I'm working on. Currently working on a to-do list app that I can put in here. The thing with the to-do list app, I've talked about HTML and CSS and JavaScript. One of the things that you can't do with HTML and CSS, and even with what you call client-side JavaScript, which means that JavaScript that runs in the web browser, is you can't write two files on a computer, right? Like I have this, I showed you that chat app, right? But you see my conversation's already gone, right? I went back to the page and everything that I just put in here is gone. That's because the JavaScript was taking the text and writing it to the document, but it wasn't being stored anywhere. It wasn't being written to a file. I'll put it that way. It was being stored in what's called local storage of the browser. I don't know if I need to show you that, but when you're using a web page, the browser itself has its own local storage, is what it's called. You can store a small amount of storage in a website temporarily, but if you go back to it, it's gone, basically. Or if I refresh the page, like if I say hello, but then I hit the refresh button, you see it's gone, right? In order to write that to a file, I have to learn another type of JavaScript, or a new, I'm not sure what to call it, a new framework. I'm not sure what it's called, but there's a thing called Node.js, which is server-side JavaScript. So you have client-side, which is the web browser, and then you have server-side JavaScript, which is the JavaScript that server is the part of the computer or the machine that serves up things for a website. Like when you're on Facebook, the computer that you're accessing Facebook from is called the client, but you're communicating when you're on Facebook. Your computer is communicating with the server farm. They don't just have a server at Facebook. They have a server farm. They probably have a building somewhere where it just ranks and ranks and rows and stacks of computers, which are called servers. So your computer is communicating with those computers, which aren't computers that someone sits at with a monitor. Like I said, these are just like towers, whatever you call them. And so you have to learn a different version of JavaScript for that. And so anyways, to do the chat app, to make a to-do list app or a chat app where the chat is permanently saved. Same with the to-do list. Like I can make a to-do list with just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but just using this kind, the to-do list would be deleted every time I refreshed the page or left and came back. And so yeah, so that's why I don't have it here on this page. But anyways, so it might take a while. Me. So I'm gonna have a to-do list here. I probably am gonna put a clock or something like that on it, that sort of thing. With the to-do list, what I want to do is be able to set appointments. So if I have something coming up, when I go to my dashboard, I'll have like a little message thing right here saying you have an appointment in 2 days or something like that. But currently, I'm just trying to organize my projects. Basically, I have multiple projects that I want to work on, including this. This in itself is a project I want to work on. But I have web development projects that I'm working on. So this is the to-do list right here. I haven't put a thumbnail image in here yet. Video game that I'm working on, and the particle text. This was one that I actually have finished. I have a video. This is a video that also I'm currently I want to work on anyways. This was like just a something I threw together just to have something on here. I'm telling you that because I'm kind of embarrassed by it, especially the music. I made the music myself, and I'm really not. Anyways. Yeah, I'm not thrilled with that song, but I do actually have a. I don't think there's anything in the painting yet. I haven't put anything in the painting page yet, but I do have a music page of songs that I've worked on. This is one that I actually like here. Before I play it though, I do want to figure out how to get one player and get a sort of thing where I can just have a menu of songs and just have one player, not have one player for each song. I should probably use this song for the video instead of the other one. I actually had made a video for this one. And then I have the storyboards that I'm working on. Across the Great Expanse was my attempt to rewrite the last Star Wars trilogy, the episode 7, 8, and 9, the Disney Star Wars movies, which I thought were terrible. I mean, pathetic. I mean, I watched them and I thought I could do better than that. So I was going to make a fan fiction Star Wars story, but then I thought, you know what? If I can do better than that, or if I do better than that, and say I make a just the storyboard even, and it becomes popular, what happens if Disney finds out and they sue me, or they're like, hey, give us 50% of the money you're making, whatever. I thought, why not just make my own story? And so I don't really have much up here. Like, I just have these collage that I got of images from the internet. This is not my artwork here in the background. This right here is this image here, and this image here are my artwork. This is the intro text. I have more than this to put up here, but I am not. This is just to get my foot in the door. So with this one, there's nothing there yet. Absolutely empty. Same with this one. There's nothing there. This is the tranny of K-Town, which is a story about a tranny in a small town. This was meant to be a story about a trans person, but also meant to be a what do you call that? An homage to rock and roll. And then Zelda: The Quest for Truth, which is essentially take the story of the Matrix and the story of Zelda and put them together into one story. This was just a picture that I found online. I was watching the show on Netflix called Arcane. I really liked the animation from that show, so I Googled it one day. I think I Googled just Arcane images or something like that, and found this. I thought, yeah, I kind of like that, and it went with the original background. This background that I have now, I put on here because this is my own artwork. Originally, the artwork that I had here was this image here, which is also from Arcane. This is an actual image from the show. And it went better with all this other stuff, like this image here, this Mother Love Bone, and the logo and all that stuff. It went better with that, but it wasn't my artwork, so I thought I need to do something, especially if I show this to people, which I'm doing right now. But this is not. I mean, like if I show it as like a portfolio piece, like if I apply for a job and I use this as my portfolio, which is something that I probably won't do, but I certainly, depending on how much work I put into it, I could do. I could get rid of this here, like this Mother Love Bone thing, which if you click on this goes to my Shemale page, my Shemale slideshow that I made. I got like 114 images from the internet of she-males, women with penises, and made a slideshow out of those. And if you click on that, it goes to that. So I'm not going to show you that because I'm sure Facebook would warn me again. But anyways, so I also have my school. I'm currently in classes at Roanoke Cabarrus Community College, and I have the course, the link to the course, and the link to the textbook, and then a link to bookmarks which I just discovered I don't need, because the book website, the website where the book is kept, keeps the bookmark for me, which I just discovered after I made the bookmark. I mean, Jesus Christ. Why didn't you tell me I had so much shit on my sweater? Ugh. And then this was something I made. This is actually what I call a secret door that goes to my chat app. What I'm thinking about doing is getting rid of that and then putting a map over this girl's face that you can't see, so that the way to get to my chat app is by clicking on her face, which is what I call a secret door. So I like the idea of having a website that has secret doors in it. Like I could do probably something like that, like if you hover over here on the right side of the very right side of the page, there's like a little spot right there, which would lead you to a secret page. Oh, me. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, this painting back here in the back, this background painting, I need to work on that. Or I need to change this stuff here, because this was I made this to go with the other image that I originally had here. I can actually show you right quick, I believe. Let's see how long. It won't take me long, I don't think. So that was the original. That was what I had it originally. So you see this all goes together. The logo, this all matches. Looks a little bit better, don't you think? I think it does. But like I said, this is not my artwork. So I wanted to put something in here that is mine, but what I had was the closest thing to. But I didn't make it. I didn't make it to go on here. That's not why I made it. So I'm gonna have to work on that, and or just make a whole new image. I don't want to use somebody else's artwork on my thing if I do show this to people. So, alright. So that was 47 minutes. I hope you enjoyed it.